The Episcopal Church, where we find ourselves, if it's a church you're familiar with or not, it's not a church that necessarily does messy well. We come from our great Anglican tradition, and we like order. We like ritual. We like prayer books with beautifully printed prayers and liturgical seasons that walk us diligently through life and death and resurrection. For everything I love about the church, it's not as good at the mess. There are times in our seasons and in our practices where I am acutely aware of not just the church, but of how our world makes very little space for the mess. Because it's the season of joy, we are meant to be joyful. Because it is the holidays we are meant to celebrate. And for so many of us, that is not the reality that we live. For those of us blessed to see enough years, the chances are we will face a holiday that feels hard. A holiday where someone is missing. A holiday that is not as it should be. And I love our church, but I want more space where the messiness can be honored. I started my ministry as a priest on the heels of my father's passing. He died 12 days before my ordination to the priesthood. And I walked into my first season of Advent acutely aware of how much I needed to honor him and that grief. I became profoundly tuned in to our liturgical practice, that in the prayers of the people, we have one spot where we remember the dead each week. And it has never felt like enough. It's messy to grieve on a weekly basis. It's messy when our sorrow does not fit into the celebration of life or can't be contained to All Saints. It's messy when we're still sad 7, 10, 50 years later. Because we don't have the Miss Manners handbook for what to do when your friend is sad 12 years after their parent passes away. But we have this promise from Jesus that my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Not that Christ can take away the pain of our sorrow and suffering, but can stand with us in it and perhaps not make it any worse. To give us slivers of comfort and hope of this everlasting life, a continuation of connection with those who we grieve, of something beyond what causes us to suffer here. And I take comfort and hope when I pay attention to our Advent readings, when I notice beyond what we gloss over in our rush because Christmas Eve will, yes, be beautiful, that over and over in our scriptures, the proclamations of good news start with something like, "Be not afraid." The message of good news has always been coming to people in times of darkness, in times of grief, in times of fear, in times of struggle. Whatever we face this season, whatever burdens we need to lay before God, may we know the story of God coming to people in great sorrow and grief, and that we hear the message that we heard this morning, and I'll remind it of to us here, that Emmanuel born amongst us is God with us. Whatever we carry, God is with us, and we do not have to carry it alone. Amen.